Hi, this is Bruce, and today we're going to look at creating a random cocktail suggestion app using the Cocktail Database API and Onsen UI. So I've claimed that already that there is an API for everything. Um, and if we take a look here, we can see on API list.fun, they've got a ton of APIs. And so what we're going to do is if we look at the free APIs, you can see there's APIs for cats, for memes, for Lord of the Rings, for cats, for memes. Um, and here we've got one for cocktails. So let's take a look at this one. So here you can see we've got all the documents related to Cocktail API. So we can search by cocktail name, by letter, by name, by ID, by ingredient. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this random cocktail generator. So I'm going to copy this and paste it into the address bar. And now here we can see the JSON that the API is giving us. But what I like to do is we'll copy that and we'll go to JSON linter. And this is just a handy way of taking a quick look at the structure of the JSON in a better format. So you can see for this one, we've got a Pisco Sour, and is the name of the cocktail. And we can see it's got instructions, and we can see it has a list of ingredients, and then those list of ingredients also have a list of the measures or the quantities for each thing. So let's get started. So you can see here I've got a starter page for a template where we've got 2 pages using the Onsen tabbed navigation pattern, with a cocktail page and an about page where we can put some information actually about our application. I've got a folder here that I've created called cocktails, and inside that folder I've got an index file, and so you can see here I'm linking to the Onsen files. I've got a CSS file that just has very little in it for the moment. And I have 2 pages, the home page and the about page, as we saw a little bit earlier. And then finally a link to a cocktails.js, which is what we'll use in order to go and get the JSON data from the Cocktail Database API and then display the information on the page. So if I flip over here and we'll use the example from Google Developers for the Fetch API, and so we'll copy this code here and paste it into our application. But first, I'm going to create a function, and I'm going to call that function get random cocktail. And then we'll paste that API. And if we come back here to the cocktail library, the cocktail database, and we will copy the URL to look up a random cocktail, and we will paste that right in here. And so you can see here, I've got a console log that if we get a successful fetch, then we should be able to see what's going on. So let's come back to our page and refresh. Let's call that function. So get random cocktail. So we're going to actually call that function. And now we should be able to fetch and see what we're getting. So you can see here we've got the JSON object, and it has an array called drinks. In that array, there's only one element, so an element with an index of 0. And if we open up that element, we can see we've got some interesting information. We've got the name of the drink, some information about the category and things like that. We've got instructions, so how to make the drink in both English and German. We've got a thumbnail to, I assume, an image of what the drink looks like. We also have a list of ingredients So you can see the ingredients for this particular cocktail, and the variable names are incremented using 1, 2, 3. So string ingredient 1, 2, 3. And with those, we also have a list of measures or measurements of how much of each ingredient goes into the cocktail. And so we'll have to create a loop to loop through that. And it looks like the database can accept up to 15 ingredients. So we'll create a loop, as I said, for that. So then once we get the data, next thing we're going to do is we want to display the information on our page. So I'm going to create a new function called display random cocktail. And we're going to pass the data as a parameter to that function. And let's create that function. Display random cocktail, and we'll bring the parameter in as cocktail. And let's just take a quick look at, make sure we're getting the information. I'll comment out the console log here, and we'll look for the console log down here on line 36. And so you can see we're getting it on line 36, and we're getting all the information. So now to get the information for just that element in the array, we can put the name of the array, so .drinks, and we want the first element, so with an index of 0. And then you can see we get just the drink. And then if we wanted to display just the name, so string name, string drink, just the name of the drink, we would put string drink. And then you can see we get just the name of the drink. So following that pattern, we should be able to get the information that we need and display it on the page. So what I'm going to do, you can see, have I created one? No, I'm going to create a section, and I'm going to call it drink section. And then we will query that element. And then we're going to create a new element. And we'll use H1 we'll use H2 for the name of the drink. I've already used H1 for the title of the app. And we're going to set drink name inner HTML to be equal to string drink. And then we're going to append that or add that to the page using append child. So drink section. Append child drink name. And if we come back here and refresh, now you can see we're getting the name of the drink here on the page. Next, I want to put an image for the drink. So we're going to let image and we'll create that image element, and then we are going to set the source of the image to be equal to string drink thumb. And let's just append that again. And we'll upload that. And then let's come over here and we'll make sure that our image resizes to fit the application. So any image that's in our drink section, we're going to set the width to be equal to 100%. And of course, this is the default, but we'll just make it explicit here, setting the height to auto. And if we come back here, we should see that we have both the name of the drink and an image for the drink. And every time we refresh, it goes and gets another cocktail from the API. So next, let's deal with the ingredients. So as we said, the ingredients are in a list, and we can have up to 15 ingredients. So we're going to create a loop to loop through and show those. So we're going to create a variable to increment. Does it start at 0? No, it starts at 1. So we're going to let I equal 1, and then as long as I is less than 16, we're going to increment I. And let's just print this out, make sure that we're getting what we think we're getting. And you can see here we are getting a list of, or we are looping through 15 times and showing that. So what we want to do is each time we're going to add an element. So we'll call it ingredient equals and this item that we're going to create is specific to onsen. So we're going to create an ons list item, and then ingredient inner HTML equals. And here what we're going to have to do is use a string literal in order to show the ingredient. So we're going to make it equal to cocktail drinks and then we're going to add the string literal. So we're going to put it in square brackets. Right, so string literal or template literal, and we want string ingredient, and then I. And then we'll append that. And let's see what that looks like. So now you can see we've got a list of our ingredients. Next, we will add the measures. Let's copy this. And we'll paste it, and we'll concatenate that, and then this is going to be string measure. And so now you can see we are getting the measure, plus we're getting the ingredient, but we're also getting a whole big long list of null for all the slots where there's no ingredient and there is no measure. So let's add a little bit of a check. So we'll use an if statement, and we're going to paste that same thing. And if it equals null, then what we want to do is we want to break out of our loop. So we'll just add a break. And then, so what should happen is it should only, 15, that's interesting. It should only show the ones that we are doing, and 15 string measure, 15 no, mini Snickers bar. I'm not quite sure why it says 15 here, because it does say 15. There you go. 15 mini Snicker bars. Wow. So now you can see what's happening is if it looks up the ingredients and it's equal to null, so in other words, there is no ingredient there, then it breaks out of the loop and moves on with any other code if there is any other code. So now that we've got that, we will add the instructions. So we're going to create an element. And then we'll let the card, or let the inner HTML of that be equal to and it's probably string instructions. But let's just go back and double check. String instructions, yes. And of course we have to append that. And so we've got a random cocktail showing up. This one's called Artillery, and it has we've got an ingredient list with the amounts or the measures for each ingredient, as well as the instructions on how to prepare the drink, how to serve it, etc. Onsen has a nice little feature built in that if you pull down on your screen, like in a native app, it will refresh the screen. So we can use what they call a pull hook to allow people to pull down the screen to refresh the application and get a new random cocktail. So we'll go into the playground, and we're going to select pull hook or pull to refresh. And we can grab that little pull hook code, and we'll put it here inside the home page. So it's inside the page. Just above the H1. I'll upload that. And we'll come back here and grab the code. And we can add it to the bottom. So let's just see if this works first of all. And so now if we pull down, you can see it's loading, and then it disappears and reloads. So what we want is right in here, after it sets back to initial, we want to call our get random cocktail function. And Frisco Sour, and if we pull down and let go, you can see it loads a honeybee. You can see sometimes we're getting some ingredients that are not there. And I think that's more when, there we go, there's another one. I think that's more when people have, people, you can see here in the database, they've got empty elements that are not, that have nothing in them. So they've probably put a space or something when they're entering it in. So we can actually go up and add an or statement if null, right? So or the ingredients equals nothing. And we'll just have to assume that that works. Until we come across another error, and then we'll fix that up at that point. So now you can see we've got our cocktail app displaying the name of the drink, name of the cocktail, an image, the ingredients, as well as their measures. You can see here we've got a null. So we've got another little bit of error checking to do to get rid of that null for the ingredients as well, or the ingredient measures. And then we've got the instructions. And the skills that you've learned building our cocktail app can be applied to almost any API, and I invite you to explore. I hope this helps.